I'm gonna show the side deck real quick. Whoa. Oh, hey, what's up, you guys? How's it going? It's Papa, and today I'm going to be showing you guys my updated Spright list that I have been playing for the current format. And it just recently got second place at one of my local tournaments that I played at, and it's a really fun build. It's very simple and straight to the point. There's not really a whole lot of like too much theory around this. It's very simple, and honestly, I really do love this deck. I still feel like that it is still a meta contender in the current format, and without further ado, we're just going to go ahead and jump into it. There's not really a whole lot of like theory behind this deck. I mean, once you see like what we're playing, you're kind of going to see why. It's literally just a bunch of like powerful cards and then like the Spright engine. But I really do enjoy this list because it's fun, it's effective, and it just does the damn thing. So starting off with the main deck, we play 3 copies of Spright Blue. Shouldn't come as a surprise. This is your searcher. This is the one that gets you whatever piece you're missing. So very good there. 3 copies of Jet. Of course, same reasoning. You have to play 3 Jet because it gets you to starter, it gets you to smashers, and smashers is very important in this build, and I'll show you why when we get there. 2 copies of red this time. 2 copies of red because I was playing 1, and as you can tell with the 1 Euro print and the 1 regular, but I was playing 1 at the time, but in this build I am playing Desires, and with Desires I felt like the one that I wanted to duplicate was the multiple copies of red, and honestly it was fine. I didn't really enjoy having 2 reds, but I also didn't mind it either because having the knowledge knowing that I have at least 1 in the deck is still good. And Desires did banish a lot of my Spright names most of the time, so probably not playing that going forward, but we'll get to that when we get to it. But 2 reds was fine. 1 carrot, I feel like this probably should have been at 2 if I was playing Desires. This did get banished a lot off of Pot of Desires, so I felt like maybe playing another one would have been necessary. But we kept it at 10 names? Yeah, 10 names, because I played the Pixies as well. But I felt like this was the correct lineup, playing Pot of Desires, which is a big focus on the deck because it is really good. But Pixies was really good. Just being able to get rid of anything that you may run into that's a problem, the Ignister Link, Marine Cess cards, fucking towers if you run into it for some reason. But Pixies was very important in the deck, and it really did do a lot of work. Really good, and I'm glad I played it. But just 10 Spright names for the main deck. Arguably the best card in the deck today was 3 copies of Iperia, and there's really no reasoning behind this. Iperia's effect is simply just to draw a card on summon, and it's really good too because you can summon this off of Gigantic and draw a card. You summon it off of Elf and draw a card. During your opponent's turn, you bring it back with Elf, draw 1, basically drawing you into a hand trap or basically whatever you need. Well, not whatever you need because it's always random. But 3 Iperia was definitely necessary because this was the only normal summon in the main deck, and without being the Spright names. But this card did benefit a lot, and it got me into a lot of advantage, which ended up just winning me matches. And yeah, going forward, this card is really good. So what made this deck so good, and what made this deck not really like special per se, but basically the whole factor behind the deck was because we played a lot of hand traps. So we played 3 copies of Effect Veiler, of course. It's just the main negation. 3 copies of Crow. You have to play 3 Crow because it's definitely the best hand trap in the format. 3 copies of Ash still. I didn't really feel like Ash was as good, but since it was locals, I opted just to play the 3 Ash because it gets you the earlier wins in the first few rounds. And when you go up against anything rogue, this is basically just the rogue killer hand trap, and it did put in a lot of work, but honestly, like if you want to cut it, you probably could. Just good luck finding something to replace it because there's nothing that can replace it. So 3 Ash. 3 copies of Nib. This was definitely a meta call, and honestly, it performed well. I only resolved Nib like twice, but I did see it enough to where like it wasn't, felt like it wasn't in the deck. But at the second tournament I took this deck to, it didn't really do too hot because I played against Flunder round 1, and this was just dead against Flunder. And then I played against Eldritch as well, which was just another dead opponent. But 3 Nibiru for when you're expecting nothing but Spright into your element is just really good, and I definitely saw it enough to where I would play it again. So 3 of those. 3 copies of Infinite Impermanence, of course, because this is probably the best hand trap other than Crow, being able to just play around cards like Triple Tactics Talents, making it not be able to be hit by Called by the Grave, which is also just really important, and it's just really beneficial. And then the last like interruption card I played was 3 copies of Super Poly. Super Poly was really ideal, and it was really good the first time I played it, the time I got second with it. Second tournament, not so much. It wasn't really too great. I think going forward, I would cut this and probably just play like more normal summons in the deck, because there was times where basically when I would lose was because I just didn't have a way to summon 2 monsters. So that was probably like the only issue I really had with the main deck. But Super Poly did do a lot of work, and I really do like this card a lot. I just think like if you're going to go forward, you could cut this, or you can move it to the side deck if you like. But I did play 41 cards, so you will have to find some room. Debatably, you could play Prosperity, but if you're playing Hyperia, I would suggest not doing that. So that's it for the interruptions. We played 18 forms of interruption, and it definitely was a lot, but it did the thing. So for, of course, more Spright cards, we do play 3 copies of Starter still. This card's insane. E-Telly for any Spright name is just nuts. Shouldn't have to explain too much here. 2 copies of Potted Desires. Now, this was a very difficult decision to do. I wanted to have some extra form of draw power in the deck, because with the Hyperias, yeah, sure, you're drawing 1, but I want to be able to draw me something that can get me into just more hand traps or just more lines of play, depending on the situation. But this card was definitely more bad than it was good. Don't get me wrong, it helps you when you're trying to see side deck cards, but for main decks game 1, this did get rid of a lot of cards that didn't want to be gone. Like, I think I banished all 3 Jets one time, and that just wasn't good. Still won the game, but I want to condone it. So 2 Desires. I did play 2 copies of Triple Tactics Talent. Granted, you could just not play this card if you want to, or if you want to cut the Desires, you could play 3 of this. It's definitely up to preference, but this card was fine. I think I only resolved it a couple times. I didn't really resolve it a lot. I was mainly resolving this to take a card or look at the opponent's hand for knowledge. I wasn't really doing the draw effect too much, but it was fine. I mean, I would only play 2 of it. I don't know if I would actually play 3. And then we played 1 copy of Called by the Grave, because again, like this is basically just like a stun control kind of Spright build. It's nothing too crazy, but the Called by the Grave did some work and would definitely play it again. And then I played double copies of Smashers in the main deck. You don't need 3. I only played 2 Smashers because I was playing Desires, and I felt like it was just important to have the extra name just in case. And if you're going up against a trap matchup, this card is wonderful. But if you're going up against Flunder, this card is really bad. So 2 copies of Smashers, rounding out the main deck. We did play 41 cards in the main deck. Again, if you want to cut Desires, you can. You could just play something else instead. For the extra deck, we played 2 copies of Gigantic. This card is really broken, still really good to this day. Granted, since you can't summon Swap Frog anymore, this card is just kind of meh in that aspect, but you use this to basically get you to a Spright name that you're missing, or it gets you to Hyperia, where you can just draw an extra card. But the card's amazing. I definitely wouldn't play this deck without it, because you just can't. 1 copy of Centaria. This card's also really good because we are playing Zeus, of course, so we play Downward and we play Zeus. But that's it for the Xyzs. I didn't really feel like playing multiple of any other like Xyz. Like, I didn't want to play like the Mannequin Cat. I didn't want to play the Banisher one, the Ominous thing. I don't know what it's called. But I felt this was fine. I've never really needed any other Xyzs other than Toad, of course. But since I can't make Toad, these 5 were just fine. Of course, we are still playing 3 copies of Elf, especially since this is the grind game that you're basically playing every matchup. You definitely want to have the 3rd Elf just in case. I did get hit by cherries during the event too, where I got second, and it sucked not having Elf, but I still ended up winning that game somehow. It is just what it is. 3 Elf is important. 1 copy of Masquerena. So it's basically, since we don't have Toad, I just opted to play the Masquerena, and it was fine. Basically, your end board, uninterrupted, is Elf pointing to an IP, and it works because since it's a Fire Thunder and a Dark Cyberus, you're not getting hit by Super Poly, so they can't Garuda you. And then even if you bring back the Hyperia too and draw a card, you still have all different types, so they can't Garuda you, they can't Venom you, they can't Mud Dragon you, so that's really nice to have. And it definitely did some work. It definitely wasn't the best card in the extra deck, but it was really solid to have just in case. 1 Dark Charmer. This was fine. Not really too notable, but this was here just in case I played against the Mirror or Tier Element, and it was okay. One Nightmare Penis. This card is really good against Rogue, and it's really good against trap decks, and this card does a lot, and I would definitely not play the deck without it. So Nightmare Penis. Nightmare Unicorn, just more usage with the Masquerena, just being able to go into the Unicorn play as per usual. One access code, this is basically your game-ending shot. Basically, when you make the access code, you should hopefully be winning the game, and that's usually what happens when we get there. But that's it for the links. And then I played a couple Super Poly targets. I played the Garuda, of course, because this card is insane. And then I played Mud Dragon. Granted, going forward, I might cut the Mud Dragon out for Starving Venom, but I've only summoned this maybe twice, and I've summoned Garuda way more. But going forward, this could just be any other fusion that you prefer to play. If you don't want to play Mud Dragon, that's fine. You could play Starving Venom, or you could play I just said it. I don't remember what it is. I don't know. I just said it. You can go back like 10 seconds and see what the name was. But just the 2 fusion targets, rounding out the 15 card extra deck. I'm going to show you guys the side deck just real quick. It wasn't really too like noteworthy. This is just locals, but I'll show you what I did use and what I didn't really use. So I do play 3 copies of Dogwood. This is just for when you're playing against the tier element matchup and you're getting really close to time, because they spend like 10-15 minutes making just their turn 1 board. So I definitely felt I wanted to have something just for time, just in case. I mean, you shouldn't be winning in time. I never condone doing that. If you can just go for the game, please go for the game. Do not ever try to use time to win you matches. It makes you a bad player, and it makes you a disrespected player. So let's just keep it friendly, shall we? I did play 2 copies of Bell in the side deck. This was originally going to be inside the main deck, but I opted to take these out, and instead I played the 3rd copy of Valor and the 3rd copy of Crow. And this card was really good. This card was good to have in the side deck. I never really missed it too much in the main deck. I really thought just having it in the side deck was fine. I never got into a situation where I was like, wow, I would have won if I had Bell. No, that's just really bad to like think like that. So I just opted to play these in the side deck, and I only threw this in for mainly like the mirror, for tier element, and surprisingly Drytron, because this is really good against Drytron. And it's also good against Eldritch. I did use this against Eldritch as well. 1 copy of Harpy's Feather Duster. This is just for Rogue, because you're trying to kill Rogue and you're trying to kill back row decks, which is also why we played 3 copies of Evenly Matched in the side deck. This was good. I don't think I would change the side deck. I think the side deck is honestly really good how it is right now. But these 4 were just amazing. This is all you need against Rogue. I wouldn't really play like Cyclones or anything like that, because you are playing the 2 Smasher, and being able to get rid of like Mystic Mine, getting rid of like other Floodgates is fine like that. But yeah, card's really good. 3 copies of Judgment for going first. So basically, every time I went first, I always cited these cards in. I played 3 Judgment, 2 Anti-Spell, and the 1 Appointer. And you know what? These cards, these are really what you need for going first. I wouldn't play 3 Anti-Spell. I just don't think 3 Anti-Spell is correct. But I opted to play the 3 Judgment, which was by far amazing. Every time I resolve this card, I feel like I'm basically winning the game. Every time I see it, I feel like I'm winning the game, because this card is just so good. It's so safe to have, and it just does a lot for you. Spell Fragrance is fine. Appointer I only saw once, and it won me the matchup. I mean, granted, it's probably fair that this card did go to 1, but I do wish it was at 3 still. But yeah, guys, that is going to go ahead and do it for the deck profile. I really hope you enjoyed this list. Again, it is just a fun build of Spright. Like, granted, it's fun for you to play, but it's not fun to play against. I had a lot of people tell me that, like, my deck wasn't fun because it basically just tells you no all the time. But also, it does kind of suck at the same time, because if you don't open up 2 level 2s, you're basically just passing, which did happen to me during the tournament quite a few times, a little bit more than I would have had liked to. But it was just a cool idea that I had. This is basically just a nothing format until we get Darkwing Blast. And yeah, that's really it for that reason. These are like all out of order. Oh well, I don't care. But basically, until we get Darkwing Blast, this is basically just a nothing format up until that set, when we get like all the new Spright cards. And yeah, that's basically it. Expect me to keep playing this deck going forward. I'm having way too much fun with this deck. I do enjoy this deck a lot, and it definitely wins games, and that's what we're trying to do. So yeah, guys, until next time, this has been Papa, and I will catch you all in my next video. Take care, everyone.